Joining us now, Leon Panetta, who has served as Defense Secretary, CIA Director, White House Chief of Staff, OMB Director, one-time Congressman from California, former Republican. You've done it all. So, Leon, it's great to see you. Mr. Secretary, many times over, what about this proposed $2 trillion infrastructure plan? The Republicans are proposing a plan that's only $568 billion only. What are the chances Republicans could get on board? And as a former budget director, do you have concerns about all the money that is flowing out?
Well, there's no question, Andrea, that it's a bold vision. But it's an important vision for the country to be able to finally do some investment in needed infrastructure in this country. And yes, infrastructure, I think, can be broadly defined to cover some of these other areas. But I think the most important thing for the president is to be able to convert that vision into action. Doesn't do much if he runs into the partisan gridlock that has doomed past presidencies. So he's going to have to find a way to try to get some kind of approach that can be supported by the votes he needs in the Senate. That's going to be the test, really, for President Biden as to whether this is just a vision or whether it becomes action.
So he might have to go along with some form of compromise that Senators Capito and Manchin and others are talking about, mostly from the Republican side, but also Joe Manchin critically.
No, I think that's right. I think, the bottom line for any president is votes. And can he get the votes needed in order to get something passed? I think the reality is that he's not going to be able to try to just ram this through without working to try to achieve some kind of consensus here with some of the moderate Republicans and some of the moderate Democrats that are absolutely essential to getting the votes needed to pass it. So I hope they roll up their sleeves and engage with the different senators that are trying to see if they can develop some kind of acceptable compromise. We got to get this done. And the only way to get it done is by working with members to be able to govern.
How long should he wait before working across party lines and trying to get Republicans to go along with his larger vision? Or should he be right now, rolling up their sleeves and getting to the table?
I think it's important to get to the table as soon as possible, to try to sit down and negotiate some kind of approach here. I don't think you can just sit back and hope that ultimately, if you don't get the votes, that somehow you could ram this through on reconciliation. I mean, the reality is, in order to even pass it with reconciliation, you're going to need some moderate Democratic votes to be able to get it done. And those moderate Democrats want to see some kind of approach that will attract some bipartisan support. So I think you roll up your sleeves, you send the people that you need to send up to Capitol Hill to sit down and to work with these senators to try to see if you can pull together an infrastructure bill that can enjoy the support that's necessary to get it done.
The president has good numbers in our new poll, 53% approval, but the biggest drag on his popularity seems to be immigration, 33% approving, 59% disapproving over this border situation. What do you see him being able to do? He inherited a lot, but the surge is getting worse.
No, there's no question that the immigration situation at the border is a crisis. It is absolutely important for this administration to provide the resources necessary in order to be able to process those that are coming through the border. That's the bottom line. So we need the administrative judges. We need the support systems that can care for the families. We need to provide the resources that'll be able to handle this situation and not just have it consume us. I think most Americans understand the importance of immigration to this country, but they also don't want to see chaos. And right now we're dealing with chaos. What's needed is to have a strong approach to providing the help needed in order to get these immigrants dealt with in a humane process, but an efficient process as well. That has to be done.
I want to turn to Russia. President Putin has warned of a Russian red line that the U.S. will regret, he says. What should our message be to Vladimir Putin? Macron apparently today warning him what would happen if Navalny were to die in prison. What should we be saying to Vladimir Putin about Ukraine and about Navalny?
I think the problem in the past is that the United States conveyed a sense of weakness in dealing with Russia, and Putin took advantage of it in the Crimea, in the Ukraine, in Syria, on election hacking that interfered with our elections. He basically assumed that he could get away with a lot of that. President Biden, on the other hand, has made clear that he recognizes Russia as the adversary they are. And he sent some very clear messages to Putin, certainly with regards to their buildup on the border with the Ukraine, which was a dangerous move by the Russians. I'm glad to see that the Russians have pulled back, but it was in part, I think, because there were some very clear messages from our allies and from the United States that he was not to do that. I think the same thing needs to be done with Navalny, to send a very clear message that Navalny ought to be treated in a way that protects his humanity, but also protects his right to be able to say what is needed in Russia. Putin is having some problems right now. I think that may be part of the reason he backed off of the forces that were at the Ukraine. But Putin knows that if he doesn't resolve some of these issues himself.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.